Good afternoon, students. Today, I would like to cover a topic which is called handover strategy and called setup in GSM. Now, coming to the handoff, basically, I would like to recapitulate how the cellular structure look like, which we have already covered in our previous classes. And as far we can remember that the design is usually done in two steps. One, planning involves the area coverage planning, wherever we can also plan for channel allocation or frequency allocation, right? So basically this is a kind of structure, this is a kind of cellular structure we can already studied, where these are the small cells and we have an antenna or a base station inside each cell. Now, basically, what is the purpose of this wireless network? The purpose is to provide the wireless access to the fixed networks, like in to PSTN, which we all know, and these are the basically the cells, and these are the base stations, and we know that this base station is also connected with mobile switching center, and it is also connected with the PSTN as well as HLR, a home location register. And you can see that a particular user is moving from one cell to another cell. So basically we can term it as this is a kind of subscriber one. So basically the subscriber or the user is now moving from one cell to another cell, and it will obviously experience handoff. So in cellular communications, basically this handoff is the process of transferring an active call or data session from one cell in a cellular network, or from one channel to another. So in satellite communication, similarly, it is the process of transferring control from one earth station from another earth station, right? So basically, this handoff is necessary for preventing loss of interruption of service to a caller or a data session user. So basically, that is why this handoff is also, you can where see that this particular thing is also termed as handover. So basically now here in today's class, we are here to basically discuss what is the situation for triggering this kind of handoff. As you can see this particular slide, you can understand that handoffs are triggered in any of the following situations, right? Um, if let us take in consideration that if a subscriber who is in a call or a data session and moves out of coverage of one cell and enters coverage area of another cell, another cell, a handoff is triggered for a continuum of service. So the tasks that were being performed by the first cell are, you know, just hand over to the latter cell. We know that each cell has a predefined capacity, like it can handle only a specific number of subscribers. That we already know from the previous classes as well. So if the number of users using a particular cell reaches its maximum capacity, then also a handoff occurs. So some of the cells are then transferred to adjoining cells, provided that the subscriber is in the overlapping coverage area of both the cells. Now, suppose you can take an example that sometimes cells are often subdivided into micro cells. We know that, and this particular phenomena we have observed whenever we have covered the cell splitting, right? So a handoff may occur when there is a transfer of duties from the large cell to the smaller cell and vice versa. And you can take an example that there is a traveling user, suppose, moving within the jurisdiction of a scale, a large cell. So if the traveler stops, then the jurisdiction is transferred to a micro cell, to relieve the load on the large cell, because the large cell has a number of subscribers. So that particular cell is having a lots and lots of pressure and lots and lots of load. making or initializing or receiving a particular call. So handoffs may also occur when there is an interference of calls using the same frequency for communication. Then also you can experience, a particular user can experience handoff. So these are common situations where the triggering of handoff, occurs. Now, whenever this particular thing is occurring, so basically now we would like to draw your attention that what are the types of handoff. So basically we have two types of handoffs. One is hard handoff, another is soft handoff. So basically what is hard handoff, you can see from this particular diagram, that this particular, in hard handoff, an actual break in the connection occurs while switching from one cell to another. So the radio links from the mobile station to the existing cell is broken before establishing a link with the next cell. So it is generally an interfrequency handoff, and you can say that it is a break before make policy. So this is hard handoff. On the contrary, in the soft handoff, at least one of the links is kept alive when radio links are added and removed to the mobile station. And this ensures, that during the handoff, no break occurs. So this is generally adopted in co-located sites. So it is a make before break policy. Now, if we go through the handover strategy, that means how this particular handoff from one cell to another cell basically happens, then you can see here that this is a particular model of a cellular system with two base station. One is base 1, another is base 2, two base station, and obviously one mobile station, MS, or you can say user, or you can say a subscriber, which is moving from one base station to another. That means moving from base 1 to base 2. So in this particular diagram, you can see that it is very much obvious, that the averaged signal strength of base 1 received by this mobile station decreases as it moves away from it. Whereas in the same scenario, from base station 2, this is increasing as the mobile station approaches it. So there are several methods, to find out the position of handover. That means, at which particular point this particular handover is occurring. So we can, explain this particular model, step by step, where in the first step, relative signal strength chooses the strongest received base station at all times. This is, the fundamental truth. So basically, the decision is based on an average measurement of the received signal. So basically, this is one signal strength we are obtaining from base 1, whereas this is the signal strength we are obtaining from base 2. So what happens that if you can see this particular signal, this particular signal strength, the variation in the signal strength, it may be seen that the handover should occur at position, A here, where the received signal strength from base 2, from the base 2, that is quite higher, that is quite higher what we have initiated in the signal strength from base 1. So basically what this what ensures from this particular thing is, wherever we have a multipath propagation environment, I don't know whether we have covered this particular thing, you have heard about this multipath propagation or not. Then in the next class we would surely discuss about the radio wave propagation and the multipath propagation and fading as well. So basically what happens, and in a particular environment where there will be fading of the received signal due to time and due to some kind of spatial vibration, then this variation is very much random in nature, which may cause random fluctuation of relative signal strength, and hence this basically causes repeated unnecessary handover between two base stations. So basically this type of effect you can term it as ping pong effect, so that basically the signal strength is just jumping from either from the base station 1 to base station 2, and then another base station 2 to base station 1. So basically in this manner, every time the signal strength or relative signal strength is being calculated and is being measured. What happens when this relative signal strength with some kind of threshold allows a user to hand over? And then if and only if the signal strength from the serving base station becomes smaller than some threshold values, then basically what happens, this threshold value is the predetermined value at which the call may be terminated. So basically at that particular point, that threshold or the relative signal strength with that particular threshold value allows the user to hand over. So basically what happened, that the effect of threshold depends on its value compared to the signal strengths of the two base stations at the point at which they are equal. So if the threshold is higher than this value, say let us say T1 in this particular figure, so this scheme performs exactly like the relative signal strength scheme, I mean in the previous manner. That means handover occurs at the point A, here. So basically if the threshold is lower than this value, that means lower than this value means lower than T1. So basically what happened, whenever at T2, say T2, the mobile will delay handover. This mobile will delay handover until the current signal level, crosses the what I say, that threshold position at this particular point at B. So basically what happens, that whenever this is a kind of particular point, and this particular thing occurs at a point A and for T1, and now it is basically trying to occur at particular point B. So basically what happens, that this deteriorates ultimately the quality of the communication link, and it may result in a dropped call, so basically signal strength is becoming in this manner, and signal strength is becoming higher. But this is a kind of signaling strength which the mobile station or mobile unit is carrying with it. So basically what happens, there is a deterioration in the quality of the communication link. So basically a drop call situation may occur. So in addition, this delay may cause additional interference to different co-channel users. So thus we can say that this scheme may create overlapping cell coverage area, because you can see that whenever this particular thing is getting delayed, so this is a particular an area which creates an overlapping between two cells. So now a threshold method is not used alone in practice. Why? Because its effectiveness depends on prior knowledge of the crossover signal strength between the current and the candidate base stations. So this strategy is better than the first one, but it has also a kind of limitation of the overlapping channel users. Now, what happens if the signal strength from the serving base station becomes smaller than the signal strength from some other target base station, you know, by a fixed value called hysteresis margin, which is this H, is basically, greater. So what happens then? um, Relative signal strength with hysteresis then allows a user to hand over. So what happens in this case, and handover will occur at point C. That means here basically hysteresis, you can see that this is, the signal strength from base 1, and it is basically getting down from the signal strength from base 2. Now the signal strength from the base 2 is getting, more powerful, and you can determine by this hysteresis margin. So that is why here at the point C, you can experience, or a user can experience the handover. And this technique, minimizes the so-called this ping pong effect. That means the case 1, that means always shifting or always jumping from signal strength from base 1 to base 2 and vice versa. So the repeated handover between two base stations caused by rapid fluctuations in the received signal strengths from both the base stations. Now this is a quite, matured strategy of handover, which we can expect. Now, in the next strategy, what happens if um, the current signal level drops below a threshold and the target base station is now stronger than the current one by giving hysteresis margin? So basically here also, then relative signal strength with hysteresis, as well as we have got one threshold as well. So basically now this signal strength is having hysteresis and the threshold margin. It also allows a user to hand over the current ongoing call to a new base station. Now, this is also, you can see from this particular figure, where the handover will occur at point C, the same point at C, if the threshold is either T1 or T2, and will occur at point D if the threshold is T3. In both the cases, that means at point C and at point D, there are there can be all the threshold values, and also the relative signal strength is now getting lowered from as related to the current base station, and automatically the target base station, which is the base station 2, is getting the more higher and higher signal strength. Sometimes it may happen that the prediction techniques based on based on the handover decision on the expected future value of the received signal strength also takes place, where we need to calculate the what can be the expected future value of upcoming received signal strength. So based on that particular thing, an user may experience the handover situation. So this is all about handoff, or the types of handoff, and also what are the different handover strategies. So now we start with the GSM control channels, and how in GSM service, a call can be initiated, or call can be made, or call can be received. So basically, before starting with the call process or call setup in GSM, we first need to, go through this slide, which consists of all the control channels which are associated with GSM, because in the further slides, basically, we need some kind of, these channels to understand in better way how a call can be initiated or make or received. So basically, this particular slide has been given for your convenience. Whenever you are going to the next slides, you can, come back again to just look at this particular, tree, so that you can find what particular, channel is associated with what kind of work. Is it a traffic work? Is it a signaling work? That you can, understand well. So now, basically, whenever we are going to initialize a call in GSM service, then you can see that here is one, cell phone. And when the cell phone is turned on, it scans all the available frequencies for the control channel. So all the base transceiver stations, these are, you can see there are four base station transceivers. So basically, all the base stations transceivers in the area transmit the frequency correction channel, then synchronization channel, and broadcast control channel, which contains the, base transceiver stations identification and also the locations. So basically what happens that out of available frequencies from the neighboring base transceiver stations, the cell phone, chooses the strongest one. So it has the capability to select and go for the strongest signal from all of the, base transceiver station emitting signals. So based on the frequency correction channel of the strongest signal, now the cell phone tunes itself to the frequency of the network. And the phone sends a registration request to the, corresponding base transceiver stations. Now, base transceiver station sends the registration request to the mobile switching center via the this base station controller. So the mobile switching center queries the authentication center and equipment identity register databases, and based on the reply, it authenticates the cell phone. This mobile switching center authenticates the cell phone. Now, this mobile switching center is also, connected with all these things. So basically these are the very major components, as we have already gone through in GSM architecture. So basically that is why this mobile switching center also queries this home location register and visitor location register databases to check whether the sale is in its home area or outside. So if the cell phone is in its home area, then mobile switching center or MSC gets all the necessary information from the HLR. Or if it is not in its home area, then VLR gets the information from the corresponding HLR via this MSC, right? So this particular, phenomenon is already, covered in the previous classes. So then after this process is completed, now the cell phone is ready to receive or make a call. So basically this is such the initialization process of a particular, cell phone in the GSM service. Now when initialization has been completed, now it is time to make a call. Now when the phone needs to make a call, it sends an access request. Access request means it contains the phone identification, the number. So using all this, this particular it sends this kind of access request using the random access channel to the base transceiver stations. Now, if another cell phone at the same time tries to send an access request, the message might get corrupted. In this case, both cell phones wait a random time interval before trying to send again. So then the base transceiver station, authenticates the cell phone and sends an acknowledgement to the cell phone, to the particular cell phone. If the cell phone 1 is getting chance, then it obviously sends the access to this particular cell phone. If the cell phone 2 is getting chance, then the particular, base transceiver station, sends the access to this particular cell phone. Now, the BTS or base transceiver station assigns a specific voice channel and also the time slot to the cell phone, to the corresponding cell phone, and transmits the cell phone request to the mobile switching center via this BSC, that means the base station controller. Now the MSC queries, again this MSC is doing what? It is obviously every time it is connected with HLR, VLR, EIR, and AUC, as we have just seen in the previous slide. So basically, now the MSC, Mobile Switching Center, queries home location register and visitor location register, and based on the information obtained, so basically it routes now the call to the receiver's base station controller and base transceiver stations. So this is your now the receiver side cell phone, and automatically this is the base station controller and base transceiver stations, which is associated with the receiver cell phone, which is the cell phone 3 here. The cell phone uses the voice channel and time slot assigned to it by the BTS to communicate with the receiver. So in this manner, a call is being made in the GSM service. Now, it is time to, receive a call. Coming to the next slide, here you can see that this is one home location, this is one visitor 1, this is one visitor 2 location. Now what happens that when a request to deliver a call is made in the network, the mobile switching center or the receiver's home area, queries the home location register. That is, if the cell phone is located in its home area, then the call is transferred to the receiver. If the cell phone is located outside its home area, then this HLR maintains a record of the visitor location register attached to the cell phone. Now, based on this record, mobile switching center, notes the location of the visitor location register and indicated the corresponding base station controller about the incoming call. Now the BSC does what? BSC or base station controller routes the call to the particular BTS to the particular base transceiver station, which uses the paging channel to alert the phone. Now the receiver cell phone, either it is visitor 1 or visitor 2, the receiver cell phone monitors the paging channel periodically, and once it receives the call alert from the base transceiver station, then it responds to that particular base transceiver station, and the BTS then communicates a channel and a time slot for the cell phone to communicate. Now in this manner the call is established. So these are the three major, flow chart or three major process you can see. With the help of this three flow charts, we can, understand how a call is being initiated or made or, received in the GSM service. So that's all for today's class, and thank you very much to for listening this lecture. So that's it. Thank you very much.